Well, Millie, you did video games, right?
I had a producer and a director from Ubisoft. Ubisoft was just setting up the Toronto office. And that director, he was interviewing a bunch of casting directors, and he liked my vibe.
Because it's a cool vibe.
Impressed. Again, I said to him, I said, I know nothing about, I don't even know how to play a video game. I've never even, like, sat in front of a console. Like, you know, so I just sat there and went, I don't know. Like I said, look, I'm going to approach this the same way I would for film and television. It's a story. You want me to help you tell a story. That's how I'm going to do it. So for me, and then he explained to me the technology of how to film, like, because again, Ubisoft was still building the studio, the motion capture studio. So we were casting as they were building. So for me, I said, what are you asking the actor to do when they walk in on that day? And he was like, okay, they put on the leotard, and, you know, he's telling me they put on the leotard, it's got the balls on the camera, and then and I said, so I said, okay, so you're asking them to go into an empty room, put on the equipment, and then perform. And I said, how large are the movements? Like, are we talking, like, how, in terms of movements, like, are we talking theater? Are we talking, like, where is the camera? Like, because the camera is on a grid up there. So the cameras are not, and there's so many cameras. And then it's like a bird cage for the headpiece. And I was like, so really, facially, they can't move. But physically, it has to be big and has to project. So I said, okay, I'm going to start with theater actors. I'm going to go to the theater first. And because he said, and I said, what's the studio look like? And he said, oh, it's like just a big warehouse. Like a big, where we put and I went, oh. And I said, okay. So I just went to theater. And the best part is then they did a mini shoot, and they rented out, the space wasn't done yet, so they had gone to the CBC, and they basically created a motion capture studio for 5 days at the CBC. And I went in there and I went, wow, this is like literally, like, it looked like a boxing ring. One big empty room, a small square, and that's your stage. And I went, theater. I'm just going to go with theater. So that for me was kind of where I pitch a lot of my Ubisoft stuff. And again, some of it's vocal. Like, again, I don't do any of the voice casting for video games. So that's how I did. Now, unfortunately, he ended up moving to rival video game company. And then now he's back. He's back at Ubisoft. But again, Ubisoft has a very different talent. They've established a talent division. So now they don't necessarily use casting directors per se. They have their own in-house casting. So I'm bummed because I love, you know what it is? I love working with that director. That director, I call him my work husband. Aww. He's so extraordinary in the way, like, we have a shorthand together. And anytime I have an actor that I want him to see.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, anytime I have an actor that I want him to see, I'm like, I don't even know. I have, like, my own database. I'm like, actors we want to work with. Actors that I know he'll want to work with. Like, Rachel, you and I talk about this all the time about, you know, what's frustrating is usually the person at the top, the person that has the decision-making ability and is making those decisions, and you're like, what the hell? Like, why did you choose the shittiest actor?
Why are you messing with the story?
Like, why? So now we're just casting based on, like, you know, I just go, some executive comes in and is like, okay, I'm going to pick this person, and this person, and I don't even care how well they can act. And you're like, I didn't even present those people to you. Yeah. And you're like, those people were not even in the mix. And you're like, all of a sudden he's like, oh, I work with this guy in New York, so we're going to use this person. And you're like, so what about all those people we just auditioned for this role? What about, like, you're just...
Time?
It's so frustrating. It's frustrating when you don't have that power. So in a way, it's kind of weird when you say that, because I'm like, if I was a casting executive, I might have power. I might be able to say yay or nay, or actually give a chance, an opportunity to somebody. But, you know, that's the other thing, too. When I think about network executives, any of the network executives I've worked with, they're not always hands-on, but they know, like, they have a little bit of power in terms of they can get you the names. They can get you, like, I just worked, again, with one of the major streamers where my casting executive, she knew, she was also BIPOC, which was interesting because she had a different, I knew working with her, we meshed immediately, and part of that was because we just knew we needed to tell different stories. We knew that we were not going to continue to always see the same, like, and we weren't going to have to make excuses when we wanted to see diversity in the casting. We just knew, we're like, oh my God, that's such a good show, that's such a good choice. Or like, oh my God, love this person. Like, and I'm like, I'm going to show you this person. And again, part of that is she's not, like, she wasn't always hands-on because she wasn't in the audition rooms and she wasn't in the comments, but she'd see the tapes. But I'd be like, okay, I'm going to show you. And then I got a little bit where it would be like, on the side, like off the record, I'm going to show you this tape of this other person where I'm like, maybe it's not for this show, but oh, you need to know who these people are. You know, because she was doing a lot more Toronto stuff too. So that was kind of exciting. But again, I want to be hands-on. I want to see. I want to be in the room. For me, I want to be on the ground. Like, I want to be on the ground.
I still don't agree with producers not realizing that casting directors are also artists. Because when I think of Millie, I'm just like, Millie loves actors.
Period. I know.
So,
I tell her this all the time. She loves actors. Like,
not everybody understands that that's a plus. Like, that's a real big thing because when I sit in callbacks with Millie and I see actors' faces light up when they see that it's her, they're like, oh, I remember you. Like, they remember her. You know what I mean? So I think that is a good thing to bring to a project when if actors actually want to be in front of you, that's a great asset because sometimes actors might see a casting director and be like, I had a really bad experience with that company. I don't want to audition for this. So actors love Millie and Millie gets story and Millie knows she is very good at saying like, this is who I think this should go to without even getting a lot of responses back. She's like, this person would do well in this role, and sometimes producers just don't get it.
I wonder if like you've never done a job and don't understand it, is that the barrier? Because, or is it just, anyone in the artsy community, it's so hard to communicate with different people and you go, I don't know how to communicate with people sometimes.
I think it's the latter because, there's always egos and different styles of communication. And it's like, you never know who you're going to get, like, in terms of, like, a producer or a director. You don't know, like, what you're getting when you say yes to a project. So
that's true.
A lot of ego. A lot of ego. I mean, it's like egos. Again, it's kind of like dating, right? I feel like, of course, the producer's going to pick who they jive with best, or who they mesh with. I totally understand that. Or who's going to be the least, the road of least, like the path of least resistance.
Easiest person.
Yeah, I mean, Rachel knows I just interviewed for a massive project, and while, I will always think that I was the right person for it, I was like, there was a part of me that was just like, I don't think the other casting director, like the main casting director of the project, I was like, I think she's just going to hate me. Like, no matter what I do, I think it will just never be good enough. And at the end of the day, do I think the right casting director got it? Well, you know what? The right one for that project at that time, yes. And I think that's exactly what it comes down to. Time is money. Who is going to give us the best bang for our buck right now?
Right.
So, yeah.
And you realize we haven't talked about actors yet because a lot of our work, I feel like the actors are the easy part of our work. Like,
which is interesting for people to hear. Yeah.
They come in, they do their work. I'm always in awe of when an actor comes in, they're prepared, they give us options in terms of different kinds of takes, or they give something to the story that you, like, when you read it, you never pictured it, but when you watch it, you're like, that's amazing. So I feel like that side of the coin is the easier side to deal with than all the other political aspects.
Yeah, I mean, look, the actors make me look good. At the end of the day, they really do. I'm always in awe of, or when there's an actor that I've never seen or heard of, and I'm like, how do I not know who you are? Where did you come from? You're just like, why? How am I like? And again, sometimes I always think too. That's the interesting thing about when actors are trying to sell themselves to casting. Often, if you're not what I'm looking for right now, or if I'm in a project where I'm only looking for something this like in this demographic, I can't think about anything else. I can put you in my database. I can put you sort of, a pile on the shelf, but I'm not looking for someone like you right now. Maybe later, but right now I'm in this mode and I'm on this path and I need to find this.
Right.
So that's why it's interesting that, actors will, send out mass emails or bulk emails. And I'm like, this is great, but I don't need right now. Usually when I scoot through, I'm like, where are you located? Are you, and then I'm like, maybe we'll just put it in a database. And Rachel and I have been trying to build sort of a database of performers, especially ones that are not represented, where it's like, okay, I know one day we're going to need someone like this, someone that's, they're like Latinx, but they speak 6 different languages. You're like, okay, we need to make sure we know who these people are. So, yeah. So, and Rachel and I that's the nice thing is since Rachel and I have been working together, we've been adding to the database ongoing. And it's been great because Rachel and I just came off of a non-union project where I went into that interview going, hey, great, thanks for considering me, but I know nothing about this world, and I don't think I'm the one you should be hiring. Like, there are other people that could do this. And I just said, but look, I am willing to try this. I had a strategy. I had a very out-of-the-box strategy where I was like, because I don't know non-union actors, and it was an essentially an all-male ensemble. I just said, why don't we just, make it like a big open call for union, for non-union actors and just be like, let's see what we get. We got hundreds and hundreds, which was great. And that was a learning curve too, in terms of, Rachel and I going, oh, the next time we do this, maybe we hone the search a little bit more. Maybe we don't have to use this one service. We can use this. But it was fascinating too, because they were also special skills. They needed to have a special skill. So that was kind of extraordinary because you're like, I've never ever needed to look for that skill. And you're like, who knew? And they're like, again,
people that have that skill for the database.
Yeah, which was phenomenal and some of them, and as much as, when you're talking about sort of real people, like sort of doing something that's very specific or targeting real people, man, real people, people are so talented. That's the one thing I'm realizing. People have so many skills and so many talents, and you're like, dude, where do you have time to do that? It was amazing. It was, yeah. So again, it was such a great experience, to be a part of. I don't know that I could ever take that an endeavor like that challenge again, but wow, what an extraordinary.
You can do it. I'm confident.
Yeah, I know. Rachel's my cheerleader. Rachel's
no,
like, just
we
do it.
can do it. Yeah.